Okay, so we start the topic today of recursion and financial modelling. So they just mean modelling because it's just going to be, we're going to talk about practical situations. So we'll actually be talking about loans and things. So that's just what modelling means using real life examples with the maths. Okay, so we might get a sequence of numbers, which is if we had like a pattern. So if we had like 2, 4, 6, 8, we would say that's a sequence of numbers. And what we call, so say for example, if I had 2, 4, 6, and 8, things like that, we would call this term 1, term 2, term 3 in my sequence. Now sometimes sequence might have a rule about it and sometimes it might not, but everything we're going to look at, we're probably going to have a rule to our sequence. So the one I just did, the rule is I'm pretty much adding 2, aren't I, to every term to get the new term. All right, so we often say when we have this situation, we call it a recurrence relation. So whenever you see this recurrence relation, that means you're going to have the things like this. So where we say we might have a starting point, so they often call it VO. So you'll see VO. So say up there, I might say I'm going to start with 5. 5 might be my starting point. So when we have a recurrence relation, we always have a starting point, which we often call VO. If they use a different letter, you know, they might call it HO because it depends what they're talking about, but we'll just say V for value at the moment. Okay, then you'll get a rule. So you often see a rule. So say I might write this. Now, so don't get, this is a recurrence relation when you see this wording. Now, all this means is this is a rule to get the next term. Okay, so it's not, you don't have to worry. It's not, you know, that n plus 1, it's not anything mathematically, it's just a label. So when I see that, I know how I get the next term. So say if I wrote like the rule is, now when you see Vn, that means take the term that you've got and I might say add 2. So if I was going to go do this pattern, I would maybe say I start with 5. So if I was following the rule, I take the term I've got and I add 2. So what would the next one be? 7. And then the next one, you've got 7 and you add 2. So you get 9, yeah? And so on. Okay? So that's just showing you. So when you see this part here, around here, that's a recurrence relation when you state it like that. So we'll see in a little bit, we're going to see finance things set up with a recurrence relation. So I might say I get a loan of 100,000. That's going to be my VO. Can you see? That's the starting point. And then I'm going to say I'm charged so much interest. So can you see that the interest charging is going to be like the rule? So that's all we're doing. We're meshing finance with this language. Does that make sense? Like we're just going to interpret it that way. Okay, so there you go. You've got down in this example down here, I'm just zooming in a bit. You've got a starting rule. This is a little bit over the place because it was a Word document. So we had the starting VO here was 10. And the rule was to add 5. So if we were going to do, let's do the first 3 terms of this sequence, wouldn't it be I start at 10, and then what would I do? Add 5, which would be 15, and then I'm at 15, add 5, which would be 20. Okay, so can you see too that this is T1, T2, etc. Yeah. Then we've got another example where they've said here is 300, so they want you to start at 300, and then they want you to use this rule to get the next term. So what that means is you take 300 and you times it by 0.5, which is like halving it, isn't it? So if we do half of 300, what would we get? Yeah, and then the rule's asking me to subtract 9. So 150 subtract 9 would be 141. Good. So that's all you do, and then you do that again. So I'm going to show you how you do it on the calculator. It's sort of written there to help you remember on your notes, but I'm going to pause the video and show you actually on the calculator. Okay, so here's a couple of exam questions so you know what you're going to see. All right, this is the main importance, that you know what you're going to see when you get these questions. So here they said, consider the recurrence relation. They're calling it a recurrence relation. Can you see? Because they've written AO and they've given you a rule. Yeah? That's all that means. It just means they're doing it like that. Okay, and now they said the first 4 terms of this recurrence relation is. So what you were going to do on your calculator, you're going to do the 2 and you press enter and you get the 2. And then when it says answer, I'm going to say, can you times it by 3? It should look like that, and add 1. And we want the 4th term. So this one is actually AO. So then you'll have A1, A2, A3. Oh, they want you to show you the first 4 terms. Yeah? So I'm going to pause it and we're going to do these 2 on our calculator. Okay, so we saw that. What did we see? We saw that this one, we had 7, 22, 67. So we went with an answer of E. And then over here, we saw that we went 2. Then we got, what did we get? 5, what was it? 2, 5, 14, and 41. So we saw the answer VO, B1, B2, B3. So we took the answer of D.